Guys, you're watching part 2 of the final expense presentation where I'm not only sharing my actual final expense sales presentation word for word, but I'm teaching the correct way to make a presentation. Please give this video a thumbs up right now and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Make sure you turn the notifications on. That way you're actually notified next week when we put out part 3 of the final expense presentation because yeah, guys, this is a 3-part series. In part 1, we've already covered how I use Neuro Linguistic Programming to present the 3 reasons approach, the idea in order to get the client to actually admit that they need the insurance. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to 1, separate yourself from all the other insurance agents, 2, correctly explain the difference between whole life and term life, and 3, do the field underwriting. So if you stick around until the end of this video, I'm going to show you guys how to get a copy of the Overcoming Objections super file so that you'll know exactly how to overcome any objection, whether, I don't know, you're calling to set appointments, door knocking leads, or even making your final expense sales presentation. And guys, if you'd like information on joining our agency, which gives you access to the best final expense and Medicare sales training in the industry, just shoot me an email at doug@ufesonline.com. So let's go ahead and roll the intro and get into the Zoom training of the final expense presentation part 2. During the presentation, what I want to do is separate what they've already heard, because trust me, Mrs. Jones has already seen this 10 times. She's going to see it 10 more times. I'm somewhere in the middle. That's the nature of the beast. So I need to separate myself from everybody else. Well, let me explain to you what I do, Mrs. Jones. So once we've addressed that, who the beneficiary is, what the reason is, I want to get into separating me, why I'm special, why this is completely different. What I do is a little bit different, Mrs. Jones. You see, I don't work for a big company. And a lot of times, guys, I'll throw a personal commercial out, and this is where you may use your personal commercial. I'm not going to share that with you right now. But what I do, Mrs. Jones, completely different than most insurance agents. I don't work for a big company. I'm actually part of a group of senior advocates licensed right here in Florida. And by me being part of this group, what that simply does is it gives me access to every insurance company that we would ever want to use. And Mrs. Jones, you're on Social Security benefits, is that correct? Yes. Okay, great. So I've got a few carriers that have designed their products specifically for people that don't have much money. And those are the ones we're going to look at for you today. So first, I'm going to ask you some very specific questions about your health. Then based on what you tell me, that's going to help me to find the best priced company. And then what I'm going to do, Mrs. Jones, is simply show you several options. The idea is to find something you can easily afford. Now, I know darn well that's the only way that it's going to work. Am I correct? They're going to go, yes. We want the yes mode. And that way, Rhonda's not going to need to worry about having to come out of pocket when that day comes. So this is when I'll pull out, let's see if I have it here, the medical questions page, which is in that folder. And I actually, this is my sales book, guys. I still use a sales book. I do not walk into the house with a laptop. I'm old school. So when they see this big, thick book with the BBB logo on the front of it and everything, they see that it's a little bit different. You know, I've got all the carriers in there. And so what I'll do is medical questions page. I'll break out the medical questions page, and this is basically what it looks like. So, and I'll ask them, I'll start date of birth, height, weight, whether they smoke. And the way I ask the smoking question, this is kind of important. This is the gold. Mrs. Jones, in the past 12 months, have you used any tobacco products? I don't ask them if they smoke, because then you'll find out that later that maybe they were smoking 6 months ago, they took nicotine, some nicotine drug or something that was prescribed, and then you're going to apply for non-tobacco and then find out that, oh, the company's going to come back and say, no, they're taking a drug, a smoking cessation drug, like warfarin or something like that. And there's a few of them today, and you're not going to get it. So I want to make sure that I'm doing this right, because I don't want the underwriting to come back and bite me in the butt. So I ask on the medical questions page, I use this, I ask them about the doctor information, and I get them, go grab all your medication. Well, I know them by heart. They always say that. No, Mr. Jones, I need you to go grab either your bottles or the list. I need to see everything you're taking, because if I do this wrong, then I'm just giving you a fake quote. That's how I'm going about it. Now, with this medical questions page, I want to break something down super important. I am going to find out what they're using for banking before I go forward. The last thing I want to do is give them the pricing for, let's say, for instance, I don't know, Mutual of Omaha, and then find out that they don't have a checking account. They use Direct Express or Net Spend or Green Dot Bank Card, something like that. So the way I'm going to find it out, after I've asked all the medical questions, Mrs. Jones, I've got some additional questions. This is going to guarantee that I do this right. You're a Florida resident, correct? They're always going to say, yeah, of course they are. What I'm doing is I'm circling. I'm making a big deal out. Oh, okay, great. Let me circle that. Do you have a valid driver's license or ID? Oh, you do? Excellent. Okay, great. Let me get that. And I know you're receiving Social Security benefits. You said that. Okay, great. Now, Ms. Jones, with your Social Security benefits, do they put that right into your checking account each month for you? Yeah, they do. They direct deposit. Okay, great. And is it a local? Which bank do you use? So I'm finding out right now, very nonchalantly, and that's how I say it. Is it a local? Which bank do you use? I'm saying it like that over, and that's how I'm doing it. Now they're going to say, well, it's the Green Dot Bank. And so now I know how to go forward with that. So with that being said, now we've gotten all the now it's time to do field underwriting. This is when a lot of us lose their attention, and the next thing you know, they're out walking around doing other stuff. I don't want that. I want them staying. While I'm looking in my sales book or pulling the pricing up on the phone and figuring out the underwriting and figuring out looking up the medication, doing all that stuff, I want them to stay with me. So what I've done is I've laminated I Am Your Policy. It's in Doug's presentation file, and 8 reasons seniors purchase final expense plans. So it's on the back. Those of you guys that have been doing this for a long time, I know most of you don't do a lot of this stuff. So let me just say, to me, this is for that agent who may be newer, who actually wants to do more. And to me, the more time, when you're new, more time you spend with client equals more sales, period. If you run out of stuff to say, you're going to have issues. So that's why we use this. So this is, again, what I did is a lot of this stuff I get laminated. So what they'll do is I'll have them read that. I'll figure out the prices. I'll show 5 options is what I'm going to show them. Before I show them, I want to explain to them exactly. I want to make sure they know what this is. Mrs. Jones, so just to be clear, I know you get a lot of stuff in the mail. You're getting phone calls and you're seeing stuff on TV all the time. And you may not sure what whole life is or term life is or any of those terms. So just to be clear, the only thing I believe in is whole life insurance. And let me explain. So I have this card laminated. This is the guarantees of whole life insurance. You guys can use it. So it's in that file. So what I'll do is I'll show them, look, the price will never go up. The death benefit of the insurance will never go down, and the insurance company cannot cancel the policy, well, unless you stop paying, of course. And all these policies build money. It's called cash value. So that's the money. Whenever you hear so-and-so cashed in their life insurance policy, that's what they're talking about, because these policies do build money that you can use if there's an emergency. And they'll understand that. A lot of them will be like, yes, I've heard of that. And then I read the benefits guaranteed to the day you die, period. So Mrs. Jones, it's not like that stuff on TV. That term life stuff is only good for a term of your life. And then when you hit a certain age, it terminates. I would never do that to you. I actually write on the bottom of this of the guarantees of whole life card, it says this is not like term life insurance where the price goes up and the policy expires at a certain age and you get nothing back. So that's how I've addressed it. I lay out my 5 options. Let me just, I'm looking at my notes to make sure I'm not forgetting something as I go over this. And what I do is I do a little 5-option presentation. So Mrs. Jones, what I've done is I've written out 5 different death benefit options. And I want to make sure we find something that works for you. So then what I do is I point to it. I should actually have this written out for you, but I don't. So what I do is I've got this page is also in the zip file. It's where I write down the death benefit and the monthly premium, and it's got lines. So it's got 5 little lines. So I'll write it all down, 1, 2, 3, and big. The way I do it, I write the death benefit, the face amount, 25,000 in real big print, 25,000. So it barely squeezes in there. And then what I do for the monthly premium, I write it real small. Remember, everything we're doing is this NLP. This is we're programming our client just to go, here's my check, take it, where do I sign? That's what we're doing. So before I go any further, let me just say, this worked a little too well for me at one point when I had mastered it, and I actually had to dial it back, because here I am, and this is something else. Remember, we talked about physical contact. I got in the habit of doing the physical contact. I would do it a couple times during the presentation while I'm talking about, I already, Rachel, whoever the daughter's name, and I always do write it down so I see that. When I bring up Rachel, I do that physical contact at least a second time. If you do it more than that, it's going to be too much. It may start to come off as creepy. Why is he touching me? So I will do it a second time. So using all this NLP technique, the only problem that I had was that, well, the good news was my closing rate at that point when I was going full out was very, very high. The problem was, what I learned was I wasn't doing a cool down. I had to figure out, once I sold them, okay, great, good job, nice to meet you. There wasn't much small talk, and I would be gone. And then what would happen with some of these people, and this, I'm warning you about this because you got to do the cool down. What would happen is, an hour later, they'd snap out of it and be like, what did I just do? It's like the hypnosis wore off almost. So it's like they kind of come to and they start having buyer's remorse. So we have to remove the buyer's remorse. Once your sale is done, whatever you do, figure out a way to sit your butt down, talk for at least 5 or 10 minutes about anything other than insurance related stuff. I love it when the guy's got the hunting stuff on the wall, like Matt, or they got pictures of the family. Because what I'll do is I'll walk over to the pictures and we'll start going over the pictures. I'll be like, oh, that's Rhonda. There's your daughter, right? Okay. Oh, is that her kid? You got to spend the time after. This is so important to eliminate that buyer's remorse. Okay, guys, so next week, we're going to be releasing part 3 of the final expense presentation Zoom training. And if you'd like a copy of the Overcoming Objections, the super file that I mentioned earlier, just email me at doug@ufesonline.com. Remember, guys, when you put the needs of your clients first, everything else will usually fall right into place. Now, get out there and do something good for someone today. Happy hunting.